Hello everybody and welcome to the Office 365 Labs series on this wonderful Thursday afternoon here in EMEA. In this session, which is already the fourth one from the entire series that we have in September, we will talk a lot about client connectivity, because it's okay to have Exchange Online, to have mails, to have data, but of course we also need our clients to connect to these Exchange Online resources. So most commonly we have Outlook, but nowadays we also have a lot of other devices like smartphones or tablets that we use to connect to these Exchange Online resources. So in this specific training, we will look a little bit into how clients connect to Office 365, so to Exchange Online in this case, and we will look very carefully at how we could diagnose problems in client connectivity. So if your Outlook client, for example, doesn't want to connect to Exchange Online, there are some things that we can perform as admins to check exactly where the problem might be. And we will look into how to diagnose AutoDiscover issues, for example, but we will also look into also other things that are more specific for the client itself, like for example in Outlook, the test email AutoConfiguration feature and so on. But afterwards we will also of course show you a very nice and important tool that in my experience I saw that is is not very known among admins, but that could be very useful in order to check where the problems might be. And I think we will have enough time today, and most probably at the end we'll cover also the topic about how smartphones and tablets could connect to Exchange Online through the ActiveSync protocol, and we will look in Office 365 on some basic ways in which we could configure and define how we want as an organization to allow these type of devices to connect to our Exchange Online services. But before we start, for those of you who were not present in the other session, I would like to briefly introduce ourselves as presenters. My name is Dan. I am a partner technical consultant working for Microsoft for almost 4 years now. At the beginning I was working as a support engineer, but right now starting I think 2014 I'm working as a consultant, and as such I mostly talk to partners and their end customers and help them in a pre-sales phase of some projects that they have, and also help them with how-to questions regarding Office 365 products. But my main specialty, let's say, is cloud identity, so everything around Azure Active Directory, authentication, and so on. And that's why today I also brought with me a colleague that is specialized on Exchange Online more than I am, so that she could help a little bit out and explain some things in more depth. But I would like to let her introduce herself.
Thank you very much, Dan. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Together with Dan, I will be your host. My name is Wana, and like Dan, I am a partner technical consultant. I had a history in support engineering for the past 3 years, and recently I joined this beautiful team. So probably you will notice that I will share with you today insights from my experience so far, and I hope this information will be helpful for you troubleshooting more easily and efficient when you have a situation where you need to open a case for the support team, so you can be very excited that you are one step ahead because you have already gathered the needed data for troubleshooting and analysis.
Thank you very much, Wana. This is a very nice introduction. For those of you who are not present in the other session, I have to say that this type of webcast, so the Office 365 Lab series, is a live demo webcast only. So what this means is basically that we have only these introduction slides. We do not have any other slides at all. So everything what we will discuss today will be based on the live demos. So we will try to show you how you can directly get things done, how to interpret different things that you may get, for example, in a certain trace or in a certain diagnostic tool, and so on. So in this case, I would like to start and present my desktop. And Juana, please let me know when you are able to see my desktop.
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay.
It is loading at this moment. And I assume in a few seconds, yes. I can see your screen, Dan. I can see the test connectivity.
Okay. Okay. So the first topic that we will discuss today is AutoDiscover, because this is really a very, very important topic. Since, as you may know, starting Exchange 2007 and Outlook 2007, this is the main way that Outlook can connect to Exchange Online and also to Exchange Server, because in the backend, as you may know, we use the exact same technology. So AutoDiscover is very, very important, because if AutoDiscover is not working, you basically cannot connect your Outlook client to the Exchange Online mailbox. Of course, yes, you could connect via IMAP, but in that case you won't have all the features that we have in Exchange Online. So basically what you will need to do is to connect through AutoDiscover. And based on our experience, maybe 90% of all client connectivity problems with Outlook come from the fact that Outlook cannot communicate with the specified Exchange Online resource via AutoDiscover. So in case, for example, that you have single users or all users that cannot connect their Outlook clients, you may start or you may want to start looking on how AutoDiscover is working. And in doing this, we have basically two steps that we would have to complete. First of all, even if we are admins and if we know how everything is configured in our environment and so on, what we will need to do is to check exactly what AutoDiscover record or what CNAME record exactly do we have in the public DNS zone of the email domain that is affected. So, for example, we can do this, of course, using Windows PowerShell and using the NS lookup tool. So we will try to perform an NS lookup and to see exactly what the CNAME record is for this specific email domain, which is danpatrascu.com. And I will try to do this in this way. Equals CNAME and discover dot. So in this case, I want to see exactly where AutoDiscover record is pointing for this email domain. And for instance, in this specific example, I can see that that my AutoDiscover record, so my CNAME record, because that is always a CNAME record, in my public DNS zone for this domain, is pointing to this here. Of course, you may ask why it's like that. It's easy because I have my Exchange environment created also in Azure, and of course that my Exchange 2013 server is deployed in an Azure cloud service. So in order for AutoDiscover to work correctly, I had to point the CNAME to that specific cloud service, and this is the specific cloud service where my Exchange 2003 is located, and that's why I have this value here. However, you as an admin of a certain organization normally should know exactly where AutoDiscover should point. So by performing this basic type of lookup for the CNAME record, you can check, for example, if the CNAME value is really the value that you as an admin expect here to be, or if not. Because it could be, for example, also if you're hosting most probably your DNS to a provider, then maybe something went wrong to that provider, and let's say maybe that CNAME record got deleted, or maybe it got in some way corrupted. And if you see here a value that you do not expect, this means that most probably we have a DNS problem, and in this case we should, as a first step, let's say recreate the CNAME record as it is supposed to be. I would like also to check briefly exactly how the AutoDiscover record would look like for an on Microsoft domain. Let's say if it's possible. Okay, and here. Okay, and we can see here that in this case, this CNAME record is pointing to autodiscover.outlook.com, which is correct since this domain is, of course, the standard Exchange Online domain that you have before you add any other custom domain to your Office 365 subscription. Now, having these results here, I would briefly like to also introduce the discussion about having hybrid and not having hybrid. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, in this webcast we won't cover any hybrid scenarios. I already planned, but we will have to see exactly how we will execute this in order to have different webcasts specific for Exchange Hybrid, because that topic is really huge, and we want to treat it then separately. But from the AutoDiscover perspective, if you have an Exchange Hybrid implemented, then always this CNAME record should point to your on-premises Exchange Client Access Server. Because in a hybrid deployment, AutoDiscover is always redirected to the Exchange server, and then the Exchange server connects to the AutoDiscover endpoint in Exchange Online. So even if the user mailboxes are on Exchange Online, still, however, AutoDiscover in an Exchange Hybrid environment should point to the Exchange server or the Client Access Server. And if you don't have an Exchange Hybrid, of course, your AutoDiscover records should point to the value that Office 365 gives you when you set up your domain. Because when you go through the process of setting up a domain, you are at a certain point asked, okay, what services do you like to use with this domain? And then you can select Exchange Online, SharePoint, Skype for Business. And then this wizard, this setup process, gives you all the DNS records that you have to set up in the public DNS zone in order for all your Office 365 services to work correctly with that specific domain. And in that list, which normally, if you have all services, I think it's in total 11 or 12 different records. There is also a CNAME record that is used for Exchange Online as AutoDiscover. So in case you don't have an Exchange Hybrid or an Exchange server on-premise, you have only Exchange Online, that CNAME record should redirect to the URL that was specified in that exact list. Now, this is, as I said, a first step that we can perform as admins when we see that the auto clients can't connect, and most probably there is an AutoDiscover issue. Or at first we think it is an AutoDiscover issue. After we have seen that in DNS everything is correct, what we can do is to perform an AutoDiscover test. And we have a tool for this, which is Test Exchange Connectivity or testconnectivity.microsoft.com. And here there are some tests that you can perform. You can perform tests for ActiveSync, for ActiveSync AutoDiscover, because it is a separate process for ActiveSync clients that connects. And of course, we can also test for Outlook AutoDiscover. And even if we have Exchange Online only, we can still perform this test from this tab, from Exchange Server and Outlook AutoDiscover. However, we can also go on the Office 365 tab, and we have also this Outlook AutoDiscover process here. I will do it from this tab here, because I will do two different tests at first, and then here at first I will provide an email address with this default Office 365 account, because of course this will work as expected, but what I want to do is to check exactly how the results for this test are presented by this tool, and what we can see there, and how we can interpret different aspects of of the result that we have. We have also to write in this verification code, and if there is something that I hate about the internet is this CAPTCHA codes, because I almost always don't get them right. Hopefully this time it will be okay. 3, I think then that's an 8, and age S, let's see. Now it's verifying yes, it's okay, and the good thing is you can within these 30 minutes perform as many tests as you want, provided that you use the same browser session. So we go ahead and we'll run this AutoDiscover test in testexchangeconnectivity.microsoft.com. This test, of course, it won't fail because it's the standard domain, the standard on Microsoft domain, and we can be sure that AutoDiscover records are always correctly set to these type of domains. But I want to take a brief look at the results. So first, okay, we have the overall result of what happened. But then here we have a lot of other details that we can check. And here we can then enlarge these test steps. And we see that the first thing is that this test tried to connect to the AutoDiscover service. In additional details, you normally see how long it took to reach the AutoDiscover service. So in case of latencies that user might see, you can also check these values to see exactly how it's everything is in this test. Then on the next step, you almost always will get some red points and some green points. And the reason why this happens is because this AutoDiscover test tries to connect to AutoDiscover in different known ways to connect to AutoDiscover. So first of all, this wizard or this test tried to connect to the AutoDiscover using this URL. And most probably AutoDiscover was not configured with this URL on this .onMicrosoft domain exchange servers in the backend. So of course that this step failed. And here you can click on it to see how you could resolve this specific issue. Then we have another step, and it's trying to connect to AutoDiscover using this type of URL. And also this try has failed, and yeah, in this case it was able to resolve this hostname in DNS, but when it tried to connect on port 443, it couldn't connect. And here we have also some additional details. But in the end, of course, they also try to contact the AutoDiscover serving using the HTTP redirect option, and in this case we can see that everything is green in this case. So we can see that first it was attempted to resolve this autodiscover.donepatr10@microsoft.com in DNS. Then the result following IP addresses were returned where the AutoDiscover service could be checked. Then it was open to communication, in this case on port 80. Okay, somebody wants the control. I won't give the control, sorry. And then it tries to connect on port 80, and it's listened, and this port is open, and everything seems to be fine. And the next point is AutoDiscover is trying to send an AutoDiscover HTTP request, and this also is successful. And in this case, we can also see exactly the details of this request. We can see this in something like an XML format. So we can see exactly what happened when the connection was sent, to what exact URL it connected, and so on. And in the end, this AutoDiscover request was posted successfully. and everything is now correct. Why I wanted to show you this is because always, even if AutoDiscover is working correctly and you perform this test, you would see, however, these red points here, because as said, this test will try different ways to connect to the AutoDiscover service, and of course that some of the ways won't work. However, all the if AutoDiscover is working, surely at least one of the ways to connect to AutoDiscover is working properly. And let's do another test. And this time I will try to run a test with another user, which has another email domain. And the password, and again the password. And right now you see I am in this 30-minute session, so I'm not asked to do this again. Now this test, so AutoDiscover itself will fail, and you will see, but the result of this test, for example, will be that it was successful. And also this is a scenario that could happen to you. But there are things to check and to see exactly, because this result could be a little bit misleading. Now, as we can see here, in the first 3 attempts to connect to AutoDiscover, so either direct via the different URLs that normally are configured with AutoDiscover and connecting to different XML files, we also ran through this HTTP redirect method, but it also failed. So this in this case we see that the hostname was autodiscover.dampazrashko.com in DNS, so it was resolved correctly, and but however I got an IP address from 0000, which is surely a sign that something went wrong. And also when I tried to send the request on port 80, as we have done also earlier, in this case we have also the exact error that this port is not listening, or the port is blocked, or however the port or this AutoDiscover service in a certain way failed to respond. And even if afterwards it tried to use this DNS SRV redirect method, which is not recommended at all to use anymore, and I think it's even not supported in Exchange 2016, for example, we can see that this was successful. But the reason why this happened, you can see here, because this domain is configured for different other purposes outside the Office 365 services. So we can see in this request that we have something with cPanel, mail discovery, and so on, which is clearly not, let's say, the endpoint that I wanted to check. So in this case, basically I have this domain by a hoster, which theoretically offers me also an email service that I don't use, but that's why in this case this response was correctly. And as you can see here that everything was done right, but if you can see here in this was an Apache server, so a Unix server. So it's clearly that it's not the server that is useful for AutoDiscover purposes. So in this case, for example, even if my test here, connectivity test, is successful, yes, it is successful for something that is not related at all to Office 365 or to Exchange Online or to Exchange Server, but I can see here that all options to connect to the Exchange Online or in this case Exchange Server AutoDiscover endpoint failed. So in this case, me as an admin should know that, okay, basically what we have here, this is the most important part, because this is normally the option or the way that this wizard can always connect to AutoDiscover when AutoDiscover is working correctly. So this means clearly that something is wrong on my networking level, and I'm not able to communicate to the Exchange server. Now, of course, then we at least know exactly where we can start to investigate things and see exactly what's happened. In my case, the Exchange server is shut down, so it's of course that this server can't respond to this type of request. But at the same time, here you could have a firewall that blocks this request that comes for AutoDiscover. Then you should check exactly what happens. Maybe you can also take a Wireshark trace, for example, or maybe an HTTP trace to see exactly what's happened and where exactly on the network gets this request hang up. So then you know already where you can start looking for different problems. So as a conclusion to this part is, when you run this test, connectivity test for AutoDiscover, always look for these 4 ways to connect to Exchange Online or to your Exchange server. And please, if let's say you have this DNS SRV option that is working fine, most probably, as in my case, is because that that specific domain is also configured for other services with other providers, but this is not something that is related to Exchange Online. So always check for these 4 options, and remember that also when test is successful, the first 3 options will be red, so it won't be possible to connect. However, this attempt to connect using the HTTP redirect method will normally work. And this is the thing where you should look after. If you should have, for example, an ADFS server in place, in this case, all these type of requests would, of course, go also through the ADFS server. And if it's something wrong on the ADFS server side, then this error will be something like authentication failed. So if you see that authentication failed, either the password that you provided when running the test is not correct, or if you have ADFS, something is wrong on the ADFS side. But again, at least in this specific case, you know exactly where you can start looking for different problems. Okay, right now this is the part that I wanted to present regarding AutoDiscover tests and how to interpret them to see if everything is okay or what is not okay and what the specific problem could be. Hope this was useful, and now I would like to give over the floor to Wana.
Thank you very much, Dan. I will proceed and share my screen with you. I will present my desktop, and please let me know when you are able to see it.
Okay, I will do it.
You should be able to see my Outlook.
Just 1 second. It's still loading, but it should be here in a few seconds.
Okay.
Okay, now we can see your Outlook client, so everything should be fine. And I can see my face there.
That is great. I choose your email so that you can see your face. That was the purpose. Thank you very much, Dan. So going forward, we will review one of the most useful and interesting troubleshooting tools, the Outlook client built-in tool named Test Email AutoConfiguration, which enables us to take a look into what happens behind the AutoDiscover process. So all you need to do to open this tool is the following. While Outlook is running, hold down the Control key, right-click the Outlook icon just as I do. Okay, and choose Test Email Auto-Configuration. Now the Test Email Auto-Configuration window opens. Enter your email address and password. I will enter my email address right now and the password. I hope it's correct. Okay. And I clear the checkboxes next to Use AutoDiscover, the Use GuessSmart and Secure GuessSmart Authentication. and I click the test button. It may take up to a minute before the test is complete. As indicated here, auto configuration has started. Please keep in mind that the guess smart is an old unused method. To avoid a mess, it's necessary to uncheck this option. Okay. And I will sign in. Okay, so by using the option of test email auto configuration, we can get a clear view of the methods that the AutoDiscover client use, such as LDAP query, DNS query, by using root domain and so on, and the content of the Exchange AutoDiscover response that includes different type of information, such as information about the availability Exchange web services, URL address, and more. The advantage of the Outlook test email auto configuration tool is that it is an Outlook built-in tool. That means it is part of the Outlook client, which means that there is no need to download any dedicated tools or access any external websites, such as the one presented by Dan earlier, the Outlook connectivity test through the test connectivity. So we now have the results of the test email auto configuration that are available for my client. We can see that all tabs are now complete. So I will talk today, I will present all tabs and explain shortly what happens here. In the Results tab, the first tab, we can find information about the Exchange services that are available for our Exchange. We can find here the protocol name, which in my case is the protocol HTTP, MAPI Exchange MAPI HTTP. We can find the Exchange server name. This is usually the public name of the Exchange server that provides the server side of the Outlook Anywhere services. So in our scenario, the server name is outlook.office365.com. On the next step, we can see there is the encrypted communication channel, which is mandatory. The encryption is implemented, in my case, by using the SSL protocol. The type of authentication is mutual authentication. So the AutoDiscover client needs to identify the AutoDiscover endpoint. The server will provide the public certificate, and after the identification process is successfully completed, the AutoDiscover will need to provide his credentials to the so-called server. We can find in the next step the Exchange availability service, namely the FreeBusy, which is provided by the Exchange, and the URL address for accessing this service is, in my example, https outlook.office365.com ews-exchange.asmx. Next, I will scroll a little bit down, we can find the automatic reply of out of office with the appropriate URL for accessing this service. Please note that this is no error. The two URLs are intended to be identical because Exchange uses the Exchange web services, so the EWS URL, as a focal point for providing a couple of services such as the availability service. Okay, going forward, at this step we can see the unified message service URL. So this appears if the client needs to use unified messaging. The certificate principal name, MSSTD. This means that the client will look for the server name in the certificate that the server sends to the AutoDiscover client. I will move forward to the log tab, which shows us what was the AutoDiscover method that was used by the AutoDiscover client, by Outlook, for finding the required AutoDiscover endpoint. In my scenario, Outlook finds the required Exchange server list by sending an LDAP query to the local Active Directory, and this method is described as CSP, as you can see here. In SCP, yes, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much, Dan. In the log result, we can see that the mission completely should be here, succeeded, meaning that the Exchange sends to the AutoDiscover client the required information, so the AutoDiscover.xml file. I will move forward to the XML tab. That includes the content of the AutoDiscover response that was sent to the AutoDiscover client. As we don't have an option by default for saving the information from the test results, we can bypass this limitation by copying the information into a text editor. Therefore, I will use Notepad. So first, I choose all the content from the XML tab by pressing Ctrl-A, Ctrl-C to copy everything. I open the Notepad. I have it already open here. And I just paste the information there. Important is to be able to read the information more comfortably, to save this information as an XML file. Save the file using any name you want. I will go on Save As. But important here also is, I will leave it as new one, the type should be all types. I will just save it here for you. And now you can see that everything is more easy to read and to go through. In the need for this information from the support engineer or the escalation engineer, if you have already a case open, you can save the XML file like this and just hand it over. I was talking about the advantages of the test email auto configuration, but however, what are the disadvantages? So in fact, the scenario which I would like to present to you is the one where you are not able to set up a Outlook profile. In this case, what is it that you can do? So to just bypass this issue, you can go and create by hand, manually, an Outlook profile using a new POP IMAP mail profile. I will show you how this is done. I will just close this window here, and I will go to File, Add Account. I will choose Manual Setup or Additional server types. I will go on Next and POP or IMAP, and I will hit Next. What you have to do here is just complete the fields as you feel. You don't need any precise information, but it will set up a fake mail profile for you, and you will be able then to do the test email auto configuration, because if you don't have an Outlook profile and mail profile in your Outlook client, you are not able to open the test email auto configuration because the option is not available here. So this was everything from my side for now.
Can you,
yes?
I don't know, have you closed the test email auto configuration window already, or?
Yes, I have closed it, but I can quickly open.
Okay. Let's do a test once again, because somebody asked a question about SCPs, and I would try to basically try to answer this a little bit more specifically. Yeah, so
It takes a few seconds, yes, a few seconds.
Wait until everything is finished. What are these SCPs? So this is an acronym for Service Connection Points, and this is a type of technology that was heavily used, let's say, in Outlook 2007 in order to locate the exact URL where the Outlook client should look for AutoDiscover. And in Outlook 2010, then the process of doing this was fairly the same. However, you have to know that between Outlook 2010 and 2013, there is a slight difference, because Outlook 2013 changed its AutoDiscover behavior slightly. In short, Outlook 2003 does the SCP lookup, just like Outlook 2010 did, but also chases down the DNS entries simultaneously. So that should the SCP lookup fail, then the DNS records are already cached, and the Outlook will in that case use that DNS records in order to try to connect to the AutoDiscover service. It does not really show you this on the test email AutoConfiguration, but if you perform a netmon trace or a Wireshark trace, you would be then able to see that Outlook 2013 performs these steps simultaneously. So technically, when you have Outlook 2013, normally you shouldn't have any big problems with wrong SCP entries or Outlook not knowing exactly how to handle these SCP files or entries that it has, because, as I said, Outlook 2013 will then normally look into the DNS on where exactly to connect to Office 365. Should you perform a certain type of migration from an Exchange server to Exchange Online, and should you still have this problem with these SCPs, so Outlook will still try to connect to your Exchange server even if your mailboxes are already moved to Exchange Online, there is a KB article that explains exactly how you can locate these SCP endpoints in Active Directory and how you can delete them, and then Outlook will connect to the correct mailbox. So normally it should be fairly easy. If, however, these steps don't help, so deleting the wrong SCP points from Active Directory, then of course this problem should be investigated a little bit more deeper by Microsoft support. But however, as Juana said right in the beginning, let's say that one of the most important aspects of this Office 365 Lab series is in order when you have to open a support case, for example, for this type of Outlook connectivity issue, that you can by yourself already try some things to do before you open the case. Maybe you will resolve the problem very quickly. If not, and you still have to open this support case, then, however, you already have a lot of information that the support engineer will, however, ask from your side. So in this case, you would really save a lot of time in order to work on that support case. And yes, I will search for this KB article and I will paste it in the chat right when I find it. Okay. Good. Juana, sorry for interrupting for such a long time. Please feel free to continue now.
Thank you very much, Dan. As a matter of fact, I am already done with this part, and I think next I will continue with Sarah, if I am correct. So what I would like to present to you further is a tool that helps you troubleshoot and helps you fix various issues with Office 365 services, namely the Office 365 Support and Recovery Assistant. Short, we name it SARA, which is a comprehensive Office 365 diagnostic and self-help platform recovery. Therefore, I will close here the window, and I will tell you a little bit about SARA. SARA checks if the customer is configured right. It can interact with services like Exchange Online, MS ODS, and Azure AD. In order to open SARA, the interesting thing about SARA is that you can find it in all your Outlook clients, Office 365 clients. You can easily go to File and Support and just download this tool. I will do it right now to reproduce to you. The tool is downloading right now. The application is launching, as you can see on my screen. This takes a few seconds. If this does not work for you, I will show you how SARA works. I already have it installed on my PC, but I wanted also to show you exactly how to do it. In the meantime, I would like to present to you a scenario where you can use SARA. For example, let's say, let's take the scenario where you as an administrator onboard your tenant to Office 365 or your customer's tenant, and then you choose the wrong view and you forget to assign licenses for the end user. This is not visible. He has no possibility to check that he has a license or not. And when the user then tries to connect to Outlook, he will receive some kind of generic error message like the one connection to the service failed. So this is so generic that you don't know whether it is the AutoDiscover that is causing the problem. You don't have a clue whether it is the DNS maybe, or if the service is down, or maybe it is a licensing problem. So in this case, that is exactly what SARA helps us find out. I think the application has already installed. I can see it here in the taskbar. And now I will just drag it on my screen. Okay, so this is how SARA looks like. You can open it, as I said, through the Outlook client or through the test connectivity page. It announced here very big the SARA client. You can download it from this link or just try out the Microsoft Office 365 Client Performance Analyzer. This provides you some logs. If you're not able to read them out yourself and you already have an issue or plan to open a case with the support team, you can just ask them over to our team. I will now go back to SARA, and as you can see, SARA helps us with Office setup, with Outlook problems, even with mobile devices and Outlook web app problems. Also, it is available for other products like the Dynamics CRM, and it helps you with the advanced diagnostics. You can use it yourself. I won't suggest the end users to use it, but you as an administrator can use it with confidence. Today, I would like to show you how SARA works with an Outlook issue. I think someone wants to take control. I will just say no. I will hit here Outlook and go to Next. You can see we have quite a list with problems if Outlook failed to start, if we have problems with passwords, if Outlook is disconnecting, if we have problems with shared mails as well. A lot of issues we have here. I will choose other problems to see what happens. I will hit Next. And now SARA asks us if this is the machine where we have the problem. We just hit yes and go next. And now we need to sign in. I will use my test account and the password. Keep me signed in and I go next. At this point, SARA is validating all the information behind that we are not able to see. As I said, it can interact with MS ODS, Azure Active Directory, Exchange Online, so it is quite useful. This process takes a few minutes maybe. I am not sure if we have the time to wait until the process is ready for us, but I just wanted to show you to give you a short preview of what Sarah does and how you can use it yourself before opening a case. And now I can see that we're at the next step, and I can choose what issue I have. I don't know, let's choose a search issue and hit next. Please describe. I will describe. Next. Was this working before? So there are a series of questions that are being asked here, just like if you would talk to a support engineer and he tries to find out what happened ultimately. So I think this was all from my side. Done.
Okay, Oana, sorry, thank you very much. Just wait a little bit because I'm writing here something in the chat. Okay.
Okay.
So the question that if you can create a trial with the same account more than once, the answer is no. Unfortunately, this is not possible. However, you may use the same let's say email address as an alternative email address, but if you provide the exact same details like phone number and so on, this shouldn't be possible normally. Okay, good. I will have then to present my screen right now. And,
okay, I will stop presenting.
It will automatically. Just let me see.
It is loading for me at this point.
Okay.
And I am able to see your screen right now.
Okay, good. One more thing that we wanted to cover during this webcast is ActiveSync. So first of all, when we talk about ActiveSync, we have to notice that this is a protocol that normally is implemented on Exchange server mostly, and clients that in some way connect to Exchange server in order to synchronize email, contacts, calendar entries, and tasks from your Exchange server or Exchange Online, in our case, to a smartphone that you may use to connect to these services. However, you should know, because I got a lot of questions about ActiveSync. Okay, but why can't you, let's say, create very, very granular device policies and so on? And that's not the idea of ActiveSync. ActiveSync is just a feature that you can enable server side in order to allow devices to connect to your Exchange resources or not. Of course, when you allow a device to connect to your Exchange resources, you as an admin can also wipe that information away, so everything regarding Exchange, or quarantine the device and not allowing access to your Exchange's server or Exchange Online resources. But this is pretty much everything you could do in Exchange ActiveSync. If you want a more granular way to handle smartphones and tablets in your organization, then you would have to think towards the default Office 365 mobile device management system, or Intune, because also the Office 365 MDM contains a set of very, very basic features, but if you want to really let's say control very exactly what devices can access in your organization and so on, you may want to take also Intune into consideration. So what I wanted to show you here is basically what you can configure. You can configure the, let's say, the global ActiveSync policy here, This was opened in the new browser right here, and you can here, for example, block access or allow access for all devices, and quarantine the devices, and of course you can also provide an email address of where emails should be sent when a certain device gets quarantined. So here is basically allow or block. These are the two important things that you can set up here. But one other very interesting thing here is the mobile device mailbox policies. And all Exchange Online organization, but also on Exchange server, you get this default profile. So this default mailbox policy for ActiveSync. And why I wanted to show you this, because this default is basically everything is blank here. So in my case, anyone that has a username and password for my organization, so that has a user account and a mailbox here, could connect their smartphones or tablets to Exchange Online. But here are a few things that you still can configure as an ActiveSync admin. And for example, you can require password. You can exactly decide how the password should be, if it should be alphanumeric password, or it could be a simple password or not. And you can also let's say specify the number of digits that this password should be. This is basically a PIN, not a password itself, but however you can configure this here. You cannot specify in Exchange Online or also in Exchange Server a value higher than 4. If you have Intune, you can create a device access policy that could specify, for example, a PIN that is at least 6 digits long. You can also require encryption on the device. So in this case, for example, if a certain device is not encrypted and if it tries to connect to Exchange Online, it won't be possible. And also the minimum password length could be here. If you want to use a password itself, you can define here, because this is more a PIN and this is a password that you can define, and here you can specify also a longer version. But since this is, let's say, for devices, it's better maybe to have only numbers. And yeah, basically you can here also enforce how often, for example, you can require that this type of sign-in, so using this PIN or password, is done if the device is not active for 15 minutes, or you can put here 20 or 60 minutes, or maybe 2 minutes if you want to be very secure. And you also can define here the time period for which this password or PIN will be available. Here is by default 90 days, so I can put it to 30. So this means that every 30 days my users that got devices connected to Exchange Online ActiveSync should change their credential each 30 days. So these are basically all the options that you can configure in Exchange ActiveSync. If you want to check out a certain device, then you can do this by going into the recipients and then selecting a certain mailbox. And unfortunately, I don't have here a mailbox that is configured with a smartphone. But however, in this case, email connectivity, we have here also phone and voice feature, mobile device. Here you can disable, for example, Exchange ActiveSync. But if you click on view details and this user has a smartphone, I have one. This is cool. Okay, so if the user has a smartphone that or a tablet or any device that is used in order to connect to this Office 365 Exchange Online mailbox, then this is the place where you can see all the devices that a certain user uses in order to connect to Exchange Online. And here we can see that the status access is granted. And here we also have the option to delete this device. So in this case, this device would be deleted. We can also go to see some information about this device itself. If you can click on more details, and if you delete this device, basically this device will then lose its connection to this the Exchange line, and the user should do it once again. Now here you can also wipe data, very important. In this case, what you would do basically, it will automatically remove all Exchange-specific data from that specific device. So all emails that were synchronized, all contacts that were synchronized, all calendar items that were synchronized from Exchange Online will be deleted when you perform this remote wipe. However, all other data that the user may have on that device, like pictures, music, and so on, that is, let's say, that he downloaded and are not work-related, all that data will still be there. So we touch only the data that was synchronized via Exchange Online Active Sync, not the data that, let's say, belongs to the user itself. And yeah, we could simply remove this device, wipe this device, so all the data, and in this case this is pending. It will take a few minutes maybe, because this request is queued, and it depends also on how many requests for wipe are there right now in that queue. However, it is processed fairly fast, and the data should be deleted. And also you can delete the entire device from here. But as I said, these are basically all the features that you could use and configure in Exchange Line ActiveSync. As I said, the same set of features are available also on Exchange Server, so not more things to configure, not less. It's exactly the same. So Exchange ActiveSync is exactly the same in Exchange 2013 and in Exchange Online, and 99.9% the same also in Exchange 2016. And yeah, here you can also disable, for example, Exchange ActiveSync. So in that case, that specific user won't be able to connect at all to his Exchange Online resources via other devices like smartphones and tablets. And okay, this would be basically it what I wanted to show you right now. Don't go away right now, because I still want to present the final slides that I have, which are only slides containing some information about this session, so it should be loaded right now. Okay. This here is a list of all Office 365 Labs webcasts in the series that we deliver in September. Of course, getting the best out of Outlook and Exchange Online was already done right now. Here are the all the other webcasts. Just as a short information, we normally have also a YouTube channel where we normally post our videos. However, I uploaded the first 2 webcasts there, but I had to delete them due to some very, very important issues. We will re-record that webcasts, and we will upload them also to YouTube. Most probably I will do this on Friday or somewhere on during the weekend maybe, but I think on Monday we will have all webcasts that were delivered so far also again uploaded on YouTube. And these are all the other official channels where you can contact us. So this being said, I would really like to thank you for being part of this webcast. Hope you enjoyed this one. As always, we kindly ask you for feedback. If you can send us some feedback about this webcast, about this series. How did you find it? What did you like? What didn't you like? What topics would you expect, for example, for future webcasts? Because this would be very important for us to know exactly what your needs are, what are the topics that you want to get covered, and so on. Once again, thank you very much for being here, and I hope to see all of you then on the next webcast on Tuesday, which will be about OneDrive synchronization, I think. So have a nice day, and since today is Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, also have a nice weekend.